भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
हरे कृष्णा
श्री प्रह्लाद उवाच कौमारागाचरे प्रज्ञो धर्माभागवतानिह
तदपि दुर्लभं मानुसंजनं तदपि अर्थवं यथा हि पुरुषस्येह विष्णु पादोपसर्पणम् यदेष सर्वभूतानां प्रियाग्नेश्वरः सुहृत् सुखम् ऐन्द्रियकं दैत्या देहयोगेन देहिनां सर्वत्र लभ्यते दैवात् यथा दुःखम् अयात्नतः तत्प्रयासो न कर्तव्यो यथा आयुर्व्ययः परम् न तथा विन्दते क्षेमम् मुकुन्द चरणाम्बुजम् ततो यथेत कुशलः क्षेमाय भावमाश्रितः शरीरं पौरुषं यावन् न विपाद्येत पुष्कलम् पुंसो वर्षशतं यायुः तदर्थं चाजितात्मनः निष्फलं यादशौरात्र्यम् शेतेन्धां प्रापितस्तमः मुग्धास्य बाल्यकैशोरे क्रीडतो याति विंशति जराय ग्रास्तदेहस्य याति आकल्पस्य विंशति दुरापुरेण कामेन मोहेन च बलीयसा शेषं गृहेषु शाक्तस्य प्रमातस्यापयातिः को गृहेषु पुमान् सक्तम् आत्मानमजितेन्द्रियः उत्सहेत विमोचितम्
उत्सहेत विमोचितम्
कोन्वार्था तृषन्नं विसृजेत्
कोन्वार्था कृष्णं विश्रेत्
प्राणेभ्योऽपि य ईप्सितः
प्राणेभ्योऽपि ईप्सितः
यं गृह्णात्य असुभिः तस्कर सेवको वनेक
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे.
Hare Krishna. So on behalf of Hare Krishna Bhavana Kshetra Yatra, I'd like to welcome you all for today's Sunday morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. And I'd like to thank Krishna Prabhuji, Prinita Mataji, Kavya and Viva also for hosting this session at their place. So thank you very much. I seek blessings from all the senior Vaishnavas present and my spiritual masters. And also thank you Radha Prabhuji as well for allowing me to have this opportunity to speak about Srimad Bhagavatam. And so we'll sing Jai Radha Madhava for the pleasure of the lordships. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunda Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunda Bihari
Jaya Gopinanda Vallabha Jaya Giti Vajradhari Jaya Giti Vajradhari
Jaya Jai.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 We'll recite together.
Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udiraye nashtaprayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishiki krishnaya vasudevaya devaki nandanaya cha nanda gopa kumaraya govindaya namo namah.
So Hare Krishna, once again. Today we will be discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 6, Verse 10. Konvartha Trishnam Visrijyat
Konvartha Krishnam Visrujet
Pranebhyo Piya Ipsita
Pranebhyo Piya Ipsita
Yam Krinati Asubhi Preste
Yam Krinati Asubhi Preste
Taskara Sevako Vanik.
Taskara Sevako Vanik.
Can I have two parties and two mouthpieces to please recite?
Konvartha Trishnam Visrajet
Konvartha Krishnam Visrujet
Pranebhyospiya Ipsita
Pranebhyo Piya Ipsita
Yam Krinat Yashubhi Preshthais
Yam Krinati Ashubhi Preshthais
Taskarha Sevako Banik
Taskara Sevako Vanik
कौन अर्थ तृष्णाम वसजेत
Konvartha Krishnam Visrujet
प्राणेभ्यो पीय इप्सितः
Pranebhyo Piya Ipsita
या क्रीणात्याशुभिः पृष्ठैः
Ya Krinati Ashubhi Preshthais
तस्करा सेवको वणि
Taskara Sevako Vanik
Konvartha Trishnam Vishreit
Konvartha Krishnam Visrujet
Pranebhyo Piya Ipsita
Pranebhyo Piya Ipsita
Yam Krinatya Subhi Preshthesh
Yam Krinati Ashubhi Preshthais
Taskaraha Sevako Vani
Taskara Sevako Vanik Konvartha Krishnam Visrujet Pranebhyo Piya Ipsita Yam Krinati Ashubhi Preshthais Taskara Sevako Vanik
Thank you very much. So we'll go through word to word synonyms. Ka, who, no, indeed, Artha Trishnam,
Artha Krishnam
a strong desire to acquire money.
a strong desire to acquire money.
Visrijyat,
Visrujet
can give up.
can give up.
Pranebhyo,
Pranebhyo
then life.
then life.
Api, indeed,
indeed,
yeah,
yeah,
which,
which,
ipsita,
ipsita,
more desired,
more desired,
yum,
yam,
which,
which,
Krinati,
Krinati,
tries to acquire,
tries to acquire,
Ashubhi,
Ashubhi,
with his own life,
with his own life,
Preshte,
Preshte,
very dear,
very dear,
Taskara,
Taskara,
a thief,
a thief,
Sevaka,
Sevakaha,
a professional servant,
a professional servant,
Vanik,
Vanik,
a merchant.
a merchant.
Translation by His Loving Divine Grace is Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Ki.
Jai.
Money is so dear that one conceives of money as being sweeter than honey. Therefore, who can give up the desire to accumulate money, especially in household life? Thieves, professional servants, soldiers, and merchants try to acquire money even by risking their very dear lives. Please repeat. Money is so dear
Money is so dear
that one conceives of money
that one conceives of money
as being sweeter than honey.
as being sweeter than honey.
Therefore, who can give up the desire
Who can give up the desire
to accumulate money,
to accumulate money,
especially in household life?
especially in household life?
Thieves, professional servants,
Thieves, professional servants,
soldiers and merchants
soldiers and merchants
try to acquire money,
try to acquire money
even by
even by
risking their very dear lives.
risking their very dear lives.
Purport, please hear. How money can be dearer than life is indicated in this verse. Thieves may enter the house of a richer man to steal the money at the risk of their lives. Because of trespassing, they may be killed by guns or attacked by watchdogs, but still they try to commit vulgarly. Why do they risk their lives? Only to get some money. Similarly, a professional soldier is recruited into the army, and he accepts such service with the risk of dying on the battlefield, only for the sake of money. In the same way, merchants go from one country to another on boats at the risk of their lives, or they dive into the water of the sea to collect pearls or valuable gems. Thus, it is practically proved that everyone will admit that money is sweeter than honey. One may risk everything to acquire money, and this is especially true of rich men who are too attached to household life. Formerly, of course, the members of the higher caste, the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas, everyone but the Shudras were trained in the Gurukula to adhere to the life of renunciation and sense-control by practicing brahmacharya and mystic yoga. Then they were allowed to enter into the household life. There have consequently been many instances in which great kings and emperors have given up household life. Although they were extremely opulent and were masters of kingdoms, they could give up all their possessions because they were trained early as brahmacharis. Prahlad Maharaj's advice is therefore very appropriate. Kaumara achare pranyo dharman bhagavataniha durlabham manusham janma tadaviyadruvamartadam. One who is sufficiently intelligent should use the human form of body from the very beginning of life. In other words, from the tender age of childhood to practice the activities of devotional service, giving up all other engagements. The human body is most rarely achieved, and although temporary like other bodies, it is meaningful because in human life one can perform devotional service. Even a slight amount of sincere devotional service can give one complete perfection. Human society should take advantage of this instruction. Hare Krishna. So we'll do Mangalacharya together.
Om Ajnanatimidandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sarvana Raghunatham Tam Sajivam Sadraitam Savadhutam Parijanasahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Saranamita Shri Vishakamitam Cha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopi Nisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishwanusute Devi Pranami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. So, here in this verse we read about the importance, the sweetness of money. And Srila Prabhupada in the purport, he states through, or he goes through many such occupations which are very dangerous, but people yet every day they're risking their lives. So there are two categories of people who work. The first one is who do dangerous activities or types of work because they're attached to their work. Secondly, are people who don't have a choice. They can't find any other work and they take up such risky occupations because they need to earn that money for their livelihood. And so money can also be categorized in two different parts. So we need money for survival, we need it for food, water, shelter. And secondly, people who have a lot of wealth, they use that excessive wealth merely for sense gratification. We read in Nectar of Instruction, Atyahara Prayasascha, so collecting too much money, more than what is necessary for us, or over endeavoring in something that's not good for us, it can spoil our devotional service because we will get too entangled within it. Why? Because material sense gratification, it can blind us, it can make us andha. And like that, we follow blind leaders as well, yata andher. And we, like that, fall into the cycle of materialistic life and suffer the miseries along with that. Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita that those who are too much attached to bhoga, material enjoyment, aishwarya, material opulence, they cannot actually take to Krishna consciousness because being materially opulent, that and also being blinded by that opulence, we become disqualified for getting Krishna consciousness. So these so-called intelligent people, they misuse their intelligence, and what do they bring up with that money? They bring up factories, they bring up slaughterhouses, they make areas of like liquor shops, so they waste their intelligence in that way. And so a person who tries to satisfy their own senses, they are called cripple-minded because they are only centered for themselves. But people who gratify the senses of the Lord for the pleasure of Krishna, they're called, or they can be called as Mahatmas, or open or broad-minded people. And so, in truth, wealth is meant for welfare of everyone in society. Shukdev Goswami says that money, it keeps changing hands. One day it can be with me, one day it can be with you, someone else, etc. But ultimately, who does it belong to? It belongs to Krishna, because Krishna made it, and Krishna owns it, and he controls it. So Shri Ishopanishad as well gives us the foundation of spiritual life. What does it say? Ishavasya idam sarvam. So everything belongs to Krishna. And we should only take our share, our portion of it, and we should not take what is over necessary. We should not take anything else. And so that is real dharma. And living in this way, it will create harmony within society. So sometimes it may appear that accidentally someone is born into a very wealthy family, or someone is born into a poor family, and across a period of time or during their lifetime, someone can accumulate a lot of wealth. But that's not the way that it works, right? In reality, people are earning and acquiring money according to what is actually predestined for them, according to their previous karmas. So as devotees, we understand that Krishna has made this material world to actually fulfill the necessities of our life, living entities. And there's actually enough for each and every one of us in the world. But there are some people who just exploit the resources that are given to us. And so material nature being designed in such a way that We can sometimes even overindulge ourselves in sense gratification. It leads us to suffering. And that is the purpose of material existence, right? It can frustrate our material desires, our endeavors. It gives us happiness, yet at the same time, it gives us sufferings. So let's take money for example. How has it started and where it's currently at? So originally money was gold in a physical form, which had a lot of value in it. Then money later on, it became just numbers on a piece of paper. Now we know a piece of paper, if a scruncher give it to you, there's no value. But if I get a piece of, or if I get a $5 note, scruncher and give it to you, you'll still keep it because it has value. The government has sanctioned it, has authorized that piece of paper that you can purchase things with it. So now that number on a piece of paper has degraded even more and it has become only a number on our screens, right? Which we can't even touch, which we can't hold. It just exists there. So just like that, we give importance to money. So from childhood, we're taught that without money, we can't live life. We need money for obviously existence, and we need money for everything else that we can purchase. So just like that, we go through adulthood earning money, and then later on, we contemplate if we will have enough money even in our pension at our old age. And after that, even after death, there are family members who are going to acquire our wealth. They'll be like, I need your share, and I'm worthy of that share. So we go through such extremes in life, right? There are examples of Valmiki Muni and Ajamila where in their first part of their lives, they lived a sinful life, right? But the Bhagavatam also warns us that money, if we acquire it by killing people or such black money, if we use that, the person who earns that money obviously goes to hell, but the people who also partake in sharing that money, they also go to hell along with them. And so, like that, when money, it can stay. So when we acquire money in our life, money will stay back. But what will carry with us to our next life is the karma that we've obtained from that money and how we've obtained it. And so the question remains, why do we go to such false pleasures? So it's because the verse is, Kama esha krodha esha ratulana samudbhava mahashano mahapapma vidiyena mihaverina. So, thus it is all because of lust and our greed, our desire for sense gratification, right? So what does lust do? It forces us to actually get things or want things which are even sometimes against our own will. And when that lust is not satisfied, what does it transform into? It transforms into anger, which is also called as the all-devouring enemy or the sinful enemy of the world. And so these three, greed, lust and anger, they are known as the three gates to hell. And so since we are in this material world, there's the urge for pleasure. The urge for pleasure is actually natural. And so trying to compress it down is actually, an analogy is given of a spring. So like the coils that we have, if we try to manually compress it with our hand, it will stay compressed, but for how long? Our hands will eventually get tired, right? And when we let go, it will obviously spring out. So compression of these desires for a long time in like an artificial way, it won't last. So we have to go through alternatives. And Srila Prabhupada, he also gives a wonderful analogy of cotton candy, right? So what does it look like? Physically, it looks like a huge amount of food, right? But essentially, what is it? It's just a lot of air and then 2 spoons of sugar inside of it. So in reality, everyone thinks that we have a lot, but we actually have nothing. And when we read scriptures, as we're reading the verses now of Prahlad Maharaj, so we need to identify 2 things. The first thing is the prayojana, the ultimate goal, right? What is the siddhanta, conclusion we get out of it? And the second is how we can actually apply that within our lives. That's how we should be reading the verses. And so here in this verse, the money is being criticized. The message being shared with us as well. So Prahlad Maharaj, he said this millions of years ago, but we're still reading it now because that value or the idea that money is sweeter than honey, it still exists with us now. It existed back then, it exists with us now because everyone here is acquiring wealth for possessions, for temporary material happiness. So we know the point. We don't need to be attached to this money. But when we go to the second point, right, how we apply it to our lives, we shouldn't take this shloka directly to us in the sense that we completely renounce wealth, right? We won't be able to survive without wealth, survive without money. How will we pay for our bills? How will we pay for like food and water, which are necessities? So for great personalities, that is possible because they're completely surrendered on the mercy of Krishna. And so they don't have many material attachments. So in short, if it is necessary for us to associate with material nature, we have to do it because there's no choice for us. We are in this material existence, so we have to abide by the rules that it has. And so our dharma is, for like adults, we have to earn money to feed the family, give them shelter. And as students, we have to study so we can get good marks and help the society that we live in. And so we know honey is sweet. And in this verse it says that money is sweeter than honey. So what is sweeter than money? That's the question. And so knowledge or pure love of Krishna, right? Bhakti, devotional service to Krishna is sweeter than that money. It's the sweetest thing that we can ever find, anywhere, in this material and the spiritual worlds. Right? So the story, pastime of Krishna is as follows. So one day what Krishna was doing was, he was astonished and he was curious to know why these devotees are constantly coming to me and serving my feet. He's thinking, what's what's the sweetness that they find within my lotus feet? Right? They're offering flowers, they're giving me tulsi leaves at my feet. So to experience this, Krishna's like, I want to know what the sweetness is within that one. But at that time when he was thinking, he was an adult. And now actually trying to taste the sweetness of his feet, it would be bad, right? As an adult. So he assumes the form of a baby. And the verse is from Bilva Mangal Thakur. He explains. Kararavindena padarvindam mukharvinde viniveshayantam vatasya patrasya puteshayanam balam mukundam manasasmarami. He Krishna He Yadav Sakheti Govinda Damodara Madhavedi. So Bilva Mangal Thakur is meditating upon this pastime of Krishna. He's saying, I meditate upon that infant Krishna, his name is Mukunda, who is sleeping on the banyan leaf tree, and he has his own lotus feet placed in his lotus mouth, lotus-like mouth, and with his lotus hands. So it shows that how much devotees actually relish serving the lotus feet of Krishna. So in service or bhakti that we do, we have that much sweetness, we attain that much. And Krishna actually wants to relish that sweetness that we are experiencing. And so, what is the price of bhakti yoga or devotional service? There's a bhajan that goes along the lines of Natya Kudru Me Nityananda Mahajan Patiya Che Namahata Jivira Karan Shraddhavan Jana Hai Shraddhavan Jana Hai. So, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says, the price is Shraddhavan Jana Hai Shraddhavan Jana Hai. He says, the faith that we need to have in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the faith that we need to have in our spiritual masters, the faith also in the association of devotees that will make us eligible to receive the holy name. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he explains what is happening. He describes how in the land of Nadia, in the island of Godruma, Lord Nityananda, what has he done? He has opened up a marketplace. Nadia Godrume Nityananda Mahajan. And so what is Lord Nityananda selling in that marketplace? He is selling the holy name. Patiyache Namahata Jivira Karan. He's selling the holy name because he wants to deliver all the souls that are here. And so the price of bhakti that we realize is faith. And materially speaking, we don't have to spend hundreds or thousands of dollars on this one. Materially, it is free for everyone. And so, being in this material world, we have to transform the lust and greed that we have to accumulate wealth for material pleasures into love for Krishna. So we have to divert our mind, our desires for the pleasure in serving Krishna. And that's for Krishna's happiness. And so, because our natural position is being Krishnera Nitya Das. And so how do we come to this stage? The forgetful conditioned souls that we are. We're conditioned, right? We're educated by Krishna in 3 different ways. Through the Vedic literatures as Shastra, through our spiritual master as a guru, and also as Krishna is sitting within us as the Paramatma or the Atma Rupa. And so from this, we understand what? We understand that Krishna is the eternal master. Krishna Mora Prabhu, and Krishna delivers us from the clutches of Maya. And so we as the jivas, we acquire real knowledge on how to attain liberation. So first, what do we have to do? Is we have to take initiation or take shelter from the spiritual master, Guru Pada Ashraya. So we know, like we studied in Bhakti Shastri, the first 5 of the 64 items of devotional service mentioned in Nectar of Devotion by Srila Rupa Goswami relates to accepting the bona fide spiritual master. And then what happens? There are more steps after that. We accept initiation, we inquire, or receive instructions from him, and then we follow in the footsteps of such great acharyas and follow the directions of the spiritual masters. And so through the spiritual master, what happens is that we get attached to Krishna, because the spiritual master is already attached to Krishna. He has seen the truth. Jnaninas tattva darshana. And so he is also known as someone who is an intimate associate of Krishna and a representative of Krishna. So we need to surrender to the orders of the spiritual master and Srila Prabhupada, because that is the only way that we can have success on the path of bhakti. And Prahlad Maharaj, we see through his example that he stays fixed within his services and his life as well, despite all the obstacles that come within his path. We know his life was much more difficult than ours. The obstacles were much more heavier than our struggles today. So there's the pastime, right? When Prahlad Maharaj is explaining to his father the importance of bhakti, Hiranyakashipu then obviously gets very frustrated, he gets very angry, and he sends his demon associates to kill him. So they say that when all these demons were throwing arrows and spears and swords to Prahlad Maharaj, what do? Just before all of them are able to attack Prahlad Maharaj, they turn into blue lotuses. So it's like Prahlad Maharaj is showered with blue lotuses. And then the demons send poisonous snakes. But what happens? These snakes, their poisonous fangs, they disappear. So the poison that's there, it turns into nectar. And they also send wild elephants with huge tusks to bite Prahlad Maharaj. What happens? The tusks, they fall off, and these elephants then run off. They also try to kill Prahlad Maharaj in other ways, so like giving him poison. That poison turns into nectar. And also, they obviously try to push him off the cliff, but Vishnu is there to protect him. And then in the end, Hiranyakashipu is like, obviously we've tried many ways, so now I myself am going to kill you. And you know what happens? Lord Nrsimhadev, he comes out of that pillar, right? And so these demons, when they're attacking here, Lord Nrsimhadev, he emits such effulgence and he attacks them, obviously killing them all. And finally, there's a big fight between Lord Nrsimhadev and Hiranyakashipu. And we know finally Hiranyakashipu is liberated and killed by Nrsimhadev. Yeah. And at that time in Bhagavatam, it says that Lord Nrsimhadev is in his ugra form, in his very ferocious form, right? He's very angry. So all the demigods there, they push Prahlad Maharaj forward and they say, because of you, he's come in this form, right? So Prahlad Maharaj, being a devotee of the Lord, he's not afraid of this, right? Because he knows his Lord is there to protect him. So he obviously gives his prayers to Lord Nrsimhadev. And the second Leela, that is just after this, the demigods, they still try to approach the Lord, but the Lord still has this burning effulgence coming out of him. So they ask Lakshmi Devi to go console the Lord, and that way Lakshmi Devi, she kind of converts the burning effulgence of the Lord into something cooler, like millions and millions of moons. And so that way the demigods also offer their prayers. Okay, and so that's what we learned. We know from Prahlad Maharaj's history that we are able to control our senses and dovetail them to Krishna. And so that way, it will be easy for us to surrender unto him. Because Maya is so strong that anywhere and any time we can be diverted. Like a Jamila, he was a perfect devotee, but obviously because he couldn't control his mind, he was lost. And so we know the mind, when it is controlled, it is our worst enemy. And Prahlad Maharaj also says that when the mind is uncontrolled and misguided, it is like there's no other enemy within this world for us. But whereas when the mind is controlled, it becomes our bestest of friends. And so how can we control the mind? We have the regulated principles that are there. They're there to discipline us. They're there because it will help us control the mind and our senses. And so going back to the verse, pursuing money, it's not actually prohibited anywhere, right? We need it, of course, for our survival. It's therefore a necessity. But we need to spiritualize it. We need to give it back in the service of Krishna. Because what is money? Money, we call it as Lakshmi Devi. And Lakshmi Devi, she's the eternal consort of Lord Vishnu. So we cannot actually have Lakshmi Devi by herself, right? We need to have her with Krishna or Vishnu beside her. So how should we spend this money? In Nectar of Devotion again, Srila Rupa Goswami, he has taught this to us by his own example. 50% of the accumulated wealth we need to give to Krishna. 25% we need to give to family members, and the remaining 25 we use it as our emergency funds. And so, an example of charity, if we just randomly go onto streets and give someone clothes or money, that cloth will eventually be broken, ripped up, right? Or we don't know where that money is going to go. That person might buy liquor, that person might use it in gambling, and that karma eventually will come to us as well. So as devotees, when we donate, we give it to like temples or Food for Life, right? So that way we're doing a better charity in a spiritual way. We're taking care of everyone's soul. So charity, it said, it can be in the modes, in the three modes, right? In ignorance, people can give it to unworthy people or at impure places, impure times. In passion, when people give charity, they expect something in return. But in goodness, when we give charity, we give it as a matter of duty, with no expectation of return, and we give it to worthy people. So there are great personalities in our Shastras who have given a lot of charity, which is of Harishchandra as well, of King Harishchandra, and also of Karna. And so we learn that we need to relate everything that we do to Krishna. We need to keep Krishna in the center of our activities. Because who knows how many lifetimes we've spent trying to get Krishna consciousness, right? And if we can't control our senses and our minds still, then we may, even in this life, lose the opportunity. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in his bhajans, he's telling the mind what is right and what is actually wrong. So just as a briefing on that one, he says, "Dear mind, why are you so always intoxicated in accumulating wealth and possessions? Don't you see how useless it is at the end? How when this body falls, meaning when it passes away, everything that is tied to it, our fame, our followers, our money, our possessions, they cannot come along with us. It's all meaningless. So even the best doctors, with how many, like, the technology that we have, we cannot protect somebody. We cannot actually make them survive for a long time. So if the riches that we obtain in our life, if we think that it can expand the duration of our life, these kings, even Ravana, he could have stayed there forever, but that wasn't right. And so it says, dear mind, if you have some wealth, use it well. Use it in the service of Krishna. Serve Vaishnavas with it. And so that is the success of our lives. So we need to remember that we may fall into the cycle again, right? Where our previous activities might take us. So the activities that we are currently performing, we accumulate pious credit with it. So if we don't fully focus on Krishna consciousness, that pious activities might end up taking us to the heavenly planets. We might enjoy it for thousands of years, according to the heavenly time zones. And then after they're done, we will fall again back onto earth. But now we're currently in Kali Yuga. If we go there, time flies there in spiritual world. So time would have also passed here on the earthly planet. We won't be in Kali Yuga, where Sankirtana is the easiest method to go back to Krishna. We might be in Satya Yuga, where we have to spend hundreds of thousands of years in meditation. So it'll be a lot more harder. And so we have to take this golden opportunity to chant the names of the Lord, to spread Krishna consciousness everywhere in the proper and the easiest way possible for us. And so on this auspicious day of Lord Nrsimhadev's appearance day, Nrsimha Chaturdashi, we should pray to Lord Nrsimhadev that we be free from all the fearful conditions and that he removes all the obstacles that are within the path of our bhakti. And with that genuine prayer, the Lord will surely come to us and destroy all the obstacles and personally guide us. So as we read Lord Nrsimhadev's beloved devotees, Prahlad Maharaj's prayers, who is also one of the great Mahajanas, right? We learn how to pray to the Lord. In which mood? So Mahajanas, they have great wealth of knowledge, right? From their lives, we learn a lot of things. So Mahajana Yunogata Sapanta. So we cannot imitate such personalities. That's just wrong. We need to follow their instructions. Prahlad Maharaj, when he was asked about the Lord, asked from the Lord, right, what boons or benedictions you want. Prahlad Maharaj didn't ask for himself first, right? He asked to, please excuse my father and all the wrongs that he's done. But Nrsimhadev, he's like, yes, I've already liberated him. And ask me from something else. Ask me something else, right? So Prahlad Maharaj, he says, quote, my Lord, the best of the givers of benedictions. If at all, if you want to give me any benediction upon me, then I pray to your Lordship that within the core of my heart that there is no material desire. Right? We can learn so much from this one prayer itself, because we all have material desires in this material world, right? And so who will actually uproot those desires is the Krishna. With his mercy only can all the weeds of the desires can be uprooted properly. And so Prahlad Maharaj, he's a symbolic representation of a Vaishnava. Vaishnava, right? And so we shouldn't imitate, like we said before. We should follow in their footsteps. Hiranyakashipu, though, is symbolic of someone who is busy collecting wealth. Hiranya, it means gold, and Kashipu means bed, or someone who enjoys sense enjoyment. And so Lord Nrsimhadev, he appeared to kill him, right? Because the Lord protects his devotees. And so we'll go through some pastimes of Lord Nrsimhadev, like the deity at Mayapur. And so there are recent examples of devotees. So the pastimes that we usually go through are from Bhagavatam, of like great Vaishnavas. But now we'll go through pastimes of such Vaishnavas of recent times. And so it's said that Lord Nrsimhadev, when he was actually carved by that person, right? The person who made that deity said that this, if you incorrectly worship this Ugra form of this Nrsimhadev, there could be possible devastation, because he is in the form of Ugra. But because this Nrsimha deity has appeared in the Lord, in a place of Navadvip, right, of Mayapur, where the presiding deity is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda, who always give mercy and they do not see anyone's bad qualities, right? They only see the good qualities. So Lord Nrsimhadev, even in his Ugra form, he has assumed that quality of Lord Gauranga. He only sees the good qualities of these devotees. So we'll go through some pastimes. The first one is of a boy. So once when there was a festival, they were playing with the firecrackers, but he somehow, unfortunately, got second-degree burns on his face, right? And with that one, doctor said he will need to go through multiple different treatments, and it will take a really long time for it to recover, and they'll need to go through plastic surgery as well. So it was at that extent where the child suffered. So, and even doctor said that his eyes, the face, it suffered on his face, so his eyes were going to be impacted. But they said that the pupil itself, the main part will be see-through. It wasn't impacted, the white part was impacted. And then after a few days, his parents, who were also devotees of Lord Nrsimhadev at Mayapur temple, they sincerely prayed to the Lord and said, please make sure that the recovery of our son, it goes fast, it's fast. And so a few days later only, when they went to the hospital for checking in, there was a nurse who just screamed when she was checking the child. Why did she scream? It's because she saw that there were no scratches on the face of the child. That's how immediately it healed. And so when she called the parents in, they were also immediately shocked. So yes, we can see like shock on everyone's faces, but we'll go through more pastimes because it can develop our trust in the Lord that he exists. And so there is also a pujari at Mayapur temple who does worship to the deity of Lord Nrsimhadev. And so this pujari, seeing the Ugra form of Lord Nrsimhadev, and obviously hearing that what Nrsimhadev can do, like potentially, he had a fear in his heart whenever he offered prayers. And so one night what happened was he put the Lord to sleep and he was walking back. He heard a loud sound behind him. He was obviously afraid to look back, but he looked back, everything was at its place. So he's like, maybe he was just in delusion, he was trying to think of something. But then he's like, okay, nothing has happened, so he went to his bed. Again, when he entered his room, he heard a loud noise. And this time, who was there sitting at his bed? It was Lord Nrsimhadev, actually sitting there. He became very fearful, that devotee, again seeing like the form of the Lord that he was always afraid of. Lord Nrsimhadev, seeing the panicked devotee, he placed his hands on the shoulders of that devotee, made him sit. He's like, why are you always fearful when you worship me? Don't be afraid. I'm there. I'm always just sitting there peacefully, waiting for you to worship me. Don't be afraid. And so this devotee, obviously he was very panicked at that time. It was nighttime. So what does he do? Obviously Nrsimhadev disappears. He, in his night clothes, he goes, it was I think the time for Mangalarti when I was reading it. So it was the time of Mangalarti. So in his night clothes, he was going there and takes darshan of Nrsimhadev and then comes back to rest. And these other devotees seeing him, they're very perplexed. How can a devotee come in like his night clothes like that? So he says the next morning when he explains this pastime to his other friends, he shows the hands of Nrsimhadev's imprints on him. And these happened a couple of years ago, and this Prabhuji, when he was explaining it, narrating this pastime, he says that the marks are still there on his body. And so there's another pastime where a mother, she lost a child in the sense that the child ran away from her. And so she knew that Lord Narasimhadev at Mayapur was so merciful that he grants anything that you wish for, obviously in good ways. So she came to Lord Narasimhadev and she prayed, my dear Lord, I will chant Hare Krishna if you please give me my son back, right? And so when she was praying sincerely with her heart, a person walked in between the deity of Lord Narasimhadev and her, and who was that person? It was her son, right? And from that day, that Mataji and her Prabhuji took initiation and they became sincere devotees of Lord Narasimhadev. So that was that way. And they opened up their own Namahatas, and so they're preaching as well themselves. So that was their story that they were sharing. There's another one, a doctor, and this doctor is like a government doctor from Bangladesh. His daughter was also studying medicine, but somehow she contracted a life-threatening tumor within her. Doctors had also given up, like in Bangladesh, they had also given up hope. So he moved to Mumbai. They had also given up hope of treating her. They said eventually she would just pass away. So what does this doctor do? He goes to Lord Narasimhadev and prays again that she recovers, or please do something to help her. And so he offered special prayers and offerings to Lord Narasimhadev. Obviously, he got the pujaris to do it. And so the daughter's condition improved over time, and now she's recovered. Another one is that of a student, right? So what this student is, he is a Bhakti Shastri student as well. So he prayed to Lord Narasimhadev that obviously he had come there into Mayapur to study Bhakti Shastri for that duration of time. But he contracted chicken pox. And we know that it can spread everywhere. So what the temple management told him was, stay inside of your own chambers and do not come outside. Obviously, we don't want it to spread everywhere. This devotee, he was very much sad because he had fought with his parents to actually come to Mayapur and study for that period of time. And now he can't even have the association of devotees. He can't see the Lords. He was wasting time, he was thinking. He prayed to Lord Narasimhadev, and at that time, he actually couldn't stay away from the Lord. So the next day, what he did, even with his chicken pox, he came to the temple, he took darshan of Lord Narasimhadev, and obviously Pujari, seeing this condition, they gave him Mahaprasad, and they called the security guards. Obviously, we don't want everyone to get chicken pox. So they called the security guards and told him to obviously take them away. And when he came back, he was obviously crying and praying to Lord Narasimhadev, why is this happening to me? All of this, I've done everything to just come here to study and serve you all. So overnight, it said that Lord Narasimha blessed him, that his chicken pox went away. The next morning, he felt energetic. Now, chicken pox normally takes a few days or even weeks to go away, right? So it was in a few days only that his chicken pox went away. So next day, he obviously continued his Bhakti Shastri. There's another pastime. Yeah, a few more minutes. There was another pastime. There was a Mataji in Mayapur. So what was happening was one day she stood before Lord Narasimhadev. She was doing her prayers itself, right? Obviously to remove obstacles from her devotional life. And she said, she was just praying, but she heard something within her mind. She heard, I want my eyes back. And now when we hear this, we're just going to think that it's like some random voice is just happening within our heads. What is the meaning of this? Right? So she ignored it. But this voice came a little bit stronger again. She said, the voice said, I want my eyes back. Right? So she approached Jananivas Prabhu. So he is the twin brother of Pankajangri Prabhuji. So at that time, he was the Pujari for Narasimhadev. So it was Jananivas Prabhu. She approached him and she said that this is happening. I'm hearing this voice saying, I want my eyes back. And he directed her to Pankajangri Prabhu. And at that time, that's all she said. She didn't explain anything to Pankajangri Prabhu. But next morning, she had that desire and the urge to wake up for Mangalarti, attend that Mangalarti, and then she followed Pankajangri Prabhu. She wasn't going to do this, but her feet just automatically just carried her along to that Prabhuji. And she explained that to Pankajangri Prabhuji, this is all I'm hearing. And then he's like, okay, fine. He just listened at that time, right? And then the voice again came in her mind that you will get your eyes back when I get mine. So at that time she was thinking, my eyesight is also poor. So what is this trying to say? And so what happened is, and that Pankajangri Prabhuji then gave her sweets to eat and everything. So the next day, her daughter, she comes along and says to her that, Mother, Lord Narasimhadev's eyes have been changed. So that's the change that Lord Nrsimhadev was trying to say in her mind. So context is, there was a couple of devotees that came a few days before. They'd given like golden gems or like some yellow gems to put on Lord Nrsimhadev's eyes so they can be yellow. But Lord Nrsimhadev didn't like that. And that's why he was trying to say through her that I want to change my eyes. And because she also had poor eyesight, he's like, if you give my eyes back, the red eyes, then I will also cure your own eyes. So that daughter, when she told the mother that Lord Nrsimhadev's red eyes had come back, that's when the mother's eyes had also recovered at that time. And so the Supreme Lord, when he comes, like in that form, right, he performs his own pastimes with eternal associates like Prahlad Maharaj. And that's true, we believe them because they're from Shastra and they're coming from our gurus. But we must also believe the pastimes of these common people like us and like the pastimes that we've heard. Because the Lord is showing through us devotion, the bhakti, through using them as mediums. We should be inspired because the Lord actually reciprocates with every one of us. He's not just a rock, he's not metal, he's not marble. He's there because we've done prana pratishtha of Krishna. We've invited the Lord personally to reside within that deity. Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Pratima nahi tumi sakshat Vrajendra Nandan. Because, my dear Lord, you are not just a statue there, you're not just sitting there. You are directly the son of Maharaj Nanda. So these recent pastimes, they should allow us to increase and deepen our faith within the Lord, right? Because we need to know that Krishna will always be present there, he will always protect us, but we just have to genuinely surrender to him. And so our Krishna conscious movement, the philosophy is that we need to take the Krishna consciousness and our life will be perfect. And that's a very simple method. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's concluding of saying that the life's greatest wealth is Radha and Krishna because they're eternal shelter. And so at the end of the purport, just the last few points that we have, is Srila Prabhupada and Prahlad Maharaj, they're saying that we need to start our Krishna consciousness at a very young age, right? So just as we start schooling, we don't just immediately go to university. We don't immediately just go finish our masters, right? We started at kindergarten because that's a way to start off things, right? Because at a young age, our brain, our human brains, we can absorb knowledge at a faster rate compared to like an older age. It's very sharp and very receptive to everything that we get. And so as we grow older, it becomes hard to focus. So if we delay our spiritual life, thinking that we'll be able to take it up later, that's impossible. Because as time goes, our desires also don't disappear. They may get stronger, or we might be distracted by many other things, especially family. And so life has various distractions. So in childhood, we play. And in youth, we are attracted to many things. In old age, there are so many worries what will happen to the family afterwards. So in life, there are so many distractions. So at a young age, we always, young age as well, we always have to think of, he's there. So that's why we need to always concentrate or meditate upon Krishna. So there's just one quick pastime that we'll go through. Not pastime, it's just a story that was given. So what happened was, there was a train journey, and on the train journeys in India, there's conductors who obviously check tickets, right? And so when that conductor was going past, he found a wallet. And in that wallet, obviously he was trying to find out whose wallet it was. He opened the wallet, there was no money in it, no photographs, no ID card, no nothing. But there was only an image of Krishna within it. And so he's asking everyone, whose wallet is this with a picture of Krishna? And obviously no one's accepting that that's their wallet. But there's an old man. He says, that is my wallet. What does this conductor do? He questions that old man saying, but you need to prove it to me that this wallet is actually yours. And now this old man is thinking, how do I prove it to him? So then he says, come here, sit next to me and I will explain to you why I have placed that image of Krishna within my wallet. So he says that when I was young, my parents, they used to give me some money with me. So I used to keep a photograph of them to show how much love they had for me. And then as I grew up and I was a teenager, then I removed that photograph of my parents and put it of myself because I used to think of how great I was, how good looking I was. But as time passed, I got married. Then I kept the picture of my wife and I removed myself because obviously she was giving me everything. She was providing for me. And then as time passed, I got children. And now children are so much more dear to me. And then I replaced my wife's picture and I put it of my children. And then as my children grew up, they had children. So now my grandchildren are more sweeter to me. So then he replaced that image with his grandchildren. And so just like this, he kept replacing it. And now he says that everyone, my parents have passed away. My children are busy in their own lives. My grandchildren don't even talk to me. So now everything has been removed from my own wallet. And just the other day when I was going through all my belongings at the house, I found this image of Krishna. And I was thinking, where would I have gotten this image of Krishna? Maybe it's some college event where bhaktas would have come, or if I would have gone to a temple. And so then I realized that all this life I have been after my own family members who are not even here at the time when I need them at the old age, right? So this Krishna, which I should have kept with me for all these years, I've wasted time and not even had him. So that's why he was explaining to the conductor that obviously Krishna consciousness is important in that sense. And so we'll conclude of saying that starting at a young age, it allows us to learn and apply things. We have so many years to make mistakes. We have so much guidance from senior Vaishnavas to learn from. And the verse from Shikshashtakam that we know, we can sing together. Nadanam najanam na sundarim kavitam va jagadisha kamaye mama janmani janmanishware bhavata bhakti rahetu ki tvai. So, it says, O Lord of the universe, I do not desire material wealth, nor materialistic followers, or a beautiful wife, or fruitive activities described in flowery language. All I want after life is unmotivated devotional service for you. So our love and devotion to Krishna should be ahetuki apratihata. So unmotivated and uninterrupted. And a perfect example of this type of love is the love that mothers give to their children. Obviously fathers as well, but today being Mother's Day, happy Mother's Day to all, we shall glorify them. And so how a mother serves a child, how a mother loves a child in an unmotivated way, we should also love Krishna in that way. So we'll conclude off here, and so happy Mother's Day to all the mothers present, and also a happy Narasimha Chaturdashi to everyone. So, Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Jai Shri Srila Gopinath Ji ki Jai. Jai Narasimha Dev ki Jai. Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Prabhupada ki Jai.
Now we'll do Narasimha Arti, Narasimha Prayers Devi, and flower offering also. So Kavya and Riva can sing Narasimha Prayers. Okay, give that.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya. विनाशक नरसिंह देव भगवान की जय। भक्त शिरोमणि प्रहलाद महाराज की जय। जगत गुरु शीला प्रभुपाद की जय। सामवेद भक्त वृंद की जय। गौर प्रेमानंदे जय। श्री लॉर्ड नरसिंह देव चतुर्दशी महामहोत्सव की जय। So, Hare